G'day, Doggies fans, all things Bulldogs. It's the All Things Bulldogs podcast. Just me tonight, no Dane tonight, but we'll get him back on again because I like his knowledge of footy and it's good having a chat. It gets a bit lonely in here, like I'm talking to myself. But thanks to everyone who's supported, subscribed, liked. It's, the channel's had a bit of a lift since we started doing the podcast and stuff, so that's really, really good. Great for me. Just some good recognition from Bulldogs fans. Really appreciate the thoughts and the stuff I'm learning from others as well, which is really, really good. Met some great people and having some good chats along the way, which is what I love. That's what it's all about. So just a fan here having a chat about what I see and wondering if other people see things the same or differently, so we can all have a chat about it because we love our footy and we love our Bulldogs. All right, so we'll go through the player ratings from the Souths games. A little quick talk about that. Team Tuesday, I'll give you thoughts on that. Some of the rumours going around. Buzz Rothfield is going to come and say hello to us later on. Got him booked in. Not sure how long I'll be able to tolerate him for, though, but not one of my favourite people, but he's going to be coming on. He's agreed to come onto the show. And we may see the Dogfather. I can't track him down, so I haven't locked him into the appointment with the podcast, but he may come on as well. We'll talk a little bit about Origin, and that'll be it. And also Josh Reynolds retires, one of my favourite players. Most Bulldogs fans can say that. There's a couple of haters, but especially when he left to the Tigers. But, I couldn't blame him for going to the Tigers. I blame the club for that, but it's just one of those things. His body's been broken for a long time, and it was always going to be tough this year. I feel that he's done well for the team, and I just love the guy. And many of us shed a tear watching that retirement speech. It was just really classy and emotional, and just exactly what it means to be a Bulldog, and inspirational. Just the way he played. All right, so let's get into it. The player ratings for last week, they're just going to come up. They don't last too long, but I thought Averillo was fantastic. He was my player of the round. He was still a bit clunky with some of the playmaker stuff, but, the way that he injected himself into the game was fantastic. Carraz, solid as ever. Burns' offloads were great. He had a really good game as well. Kai Ward in his first match played with a lot of heart. I felt that he did some really good things out there and he did his job, but defensively he's got a lot of work to do, and he was struggling not just with cohesion but with the pace of the game, I feel, and was beaten quite comprehensively numerous times. Sexton, the reintroduction, well, Sexy's back, and we'll talk about his effect on the team and how it's improved our whole team, not just Burton. I felt the likes of Tavita Pangai Jr., Raymond Fatala-Mariner and Max King all played at a level which is the minimum we need them to play at. So they all played well, but that's the minimum we need. They can't play less than that for us to win. We played what you would call a South Sydney side which had 7 Origin players missing, essentially. So, I could be here sitting talking about a 40 or 50-0 loss. I'm not taking anything away from the guys. They got the job done in the end. I felt that we made a lot of changes moving into the game, which was always going to affect us defensively. But I felt in attack we did a really, really good job for long parts of the match. So talking about the game and Sexton, so how did that help us a lot? We didn't have halfbacks that played alongside Burton or 5'8" that played alongside Burton that were getting the ball in predetermined moves to kick the footy. So with Oluwapu, even Flanagan, even Reynolds and Rajab, they'd gone out there with a plan on their first couple of sets on who was going to kick the ball, and everything was quite obvious. And then it was all going to be back to Burton. In this game, Sexton ran the team. He decided when Burton was going to kick. And there was variation in what we were doing. Souths didn't know what we were going to do on some plays. We went left, we went right. And we were able to execute. and our players had time and space. Now, we saw Jarrell Skelton. Congratulations to Mr. Skelton, or Jarrell. Jarrell on his debut, as well as Kai Ward and Toby. Fantastic for them. Jarrell, he dropped that ball in the first run. That was scary. I think it led to a try as well. We struggled to defend our line more than for one set, let alone two. And then we had him with lots of space, and we can see what he can do when he's got some space. And I guess that's the thing, though. How often are we going to get that space in games? When we have a team which goes out and plays confidently, which they go out in their forward pack, feel that they can match the opposition pack in areas, in speed, in line speed, in impact. We still had a few players falling off tackles, but it wasn't as bad. You know, we leaked that try early, which put alarm bells through everyone. But you know what? If we can get some sort of equality in the middle of the field, we can do stuff. And a player like Jarrell Skelton will make opposition teams pay. But while we're in that situation when we're not winning that middle, he'll just be another player that struggles, whether it's centre or wing. And he's not a player who's going to be able to turn and chase like a Blake Wilson or Fox can. And I think that's where Canterbury, the way we play, we need wingers that are able to do that. So I think that when Gus says Skelton's future is as a centre, I think you look at with Braden Birds and Jacob Carraz as our centres for next week. We'll talk about Team Tuesday in a moment. Jarrell's on the first drop, essentially, it seems. But it could be him, Reece Hoffman, or Paul Almonte that comes into the side if the Fox doesn't play. So those teams are scrolling across the bottom of the banner there, so as well as the New South Wales Cup team. But my point there is that we need solid, hard-hitting, robust centres that can take good yardage runs. Burns can do that. They can offload and create second phase, that have got a bit of skill about them. I think Burns and Carraz bring that to the table. I think Alamotti brings that to the table in the right system. I think he would have had a field day on the weekend, just quietly. But it's good to give him a break and bring someone else in and give him a taste. I agree with all the decisions that were made, but just my thoughts on it. And then we've got the likes of Skelton. If he comes in as a centre, he'll fit that mould. He's got skill, he's got footwork, he can hit hard. They've just got to get their timing in defence and all that sort of stuff. But having wingers that can turn and chase and catch the footy as well, and have speed, and have the speed to get on the outside, that's where the Bulldogs play their best footy. And we've nearly got a Bulldog system set there, and I hope we'll see how it goes on the weekend, I guess, but I've got a good feeling about it. That's the type of makeup we want, and we want the likes of Skelton or Alamotti coming into the centres. Burns gets injured a lot. If he gets injured or Carraz gets injured, we've got players that can come into the centres and do a good job under that system. But I think Wilson and the Fox need to be on the wing from now on. And I like Jacob Carraz moving into the centre. Really good move. I think it's time now. So talking about Team Tuesday, so I'll bring the team lists up and you'll see it in the background there. Averillo again. So we've got Blake Wilson moves to the other side for the Fox to come back on the left. Jacob Carraz moves to left centre. And then you got Burton and Sexton. Now, Fatala Mariners moved into Sutton's position in the front row, and Corey Waddell comes into lock. And with Sutton not named, Jackson Topine will be expected to play 80 minutes on the left edge, with Preston back on the right edge. So he's getting prepared for kick-out to come back on the left, which is fantastic. And I really think it's great because him and Sexton worked really well together. And Sexton defensively, I like the way he played in defence. He actually played really, really well. Got up there in their face. He ripped in. There was nothing, there was no hesitation. He just got in there. And that edge with Preston was a lot safer as it turned out. All the tries were basically scored down one side of the field for both teams. So both sides showed really great attack on their left edge. but struggled defensively on their left edge. So there you go. Well, it was the opposite for South. It was their right edge struggled and our left edge struggled in defence, but it was the opposite in attack. All right. So with our bench, it's Kyle Flanagan, it's Ockenbaugh, Tavita Pangai, and also Curtis Moran. Now, I don't mind that bench. The Ock on the bench is a good. He's an NRL player, I believe, as a bench forward. Give him the preseason. It'll be a lot better. I don't know if he'll be at Canterbury, but good luck to him, whatever happens with him. He might be one to make way, though, when Kikau comes back. But I've just got a feeling he's going to stay in the team. It seems that Serrato really likes the Ock. Serrato loves the Ock. That's a bit cheeky, but anyway. Look, I think he played really well on the weekend, Ockenbaugh, but I still worry about him defensively, and that's where we want to see more shoulder. Threw a really good pass for Kai Ward's try, though. That was fantastic. So get him on there playing more middle, less edge, and for less minutes. 40 minutes, no dramas. 45, 50, no dramas. Playing 80 in the forwards, it's a liability for us. He's got a. We talked a lot about that last week, though, but it was a good comeback from Jaden. He was lucky to retain his spot, I believe, and he did a good job coming off the bench. Jackson Topone, best game he's played in first grade, and it was good that he finally got a chance to play on his edge. There's thoughts he could play a lock as well, and I love his talk, love his enthusiasm. I've never rated him as a top 17 player, but it just seems every task he's given, he takes it on and improves, and that's what I love about him. And he's a great clubman, sings a song, love listening to the song. It was great listening to it again on the weekend. I've watched it numerous times with my daughter. We just love it. Doggy, you are. Anyway, we're having a party when we win. Any win's a party for us. But let's talk about this game. The Broncos are missing Flegler, and Huss. They're also missing Reece Walsh. They're also missing Jordan Ricky. Big outs for the Broncos. Doubts on a couple that are starting. So you got Capewell. I think Cobbo's a week to week at the moment, managing an injury. And then you've also got Carrigan playing Origin. Now, will he back up? I think he will. And they got a real young guy on the bench. I'll play that over again. Sorry, here we go. Look, I think the Broncos back line is going to cause us big problems again. And where those problems will be is how we respond to the kicking game of Reynolds, the running game of Mam, and the ability of Farmworth and Katoni Staggs to break tackles and set up Selwyn Cobbo. Staggs and Cobbo are going to be a very, very tough proposition. I think it's going to be Carraz and the Fox who'll be on that left edge, unless it's Burns and Wilson. But you still don't know how the Bulldogs are going to run out with that. We seem to have constantly swapping people on different sides and stuff like that. I can never keep up with it. But that's where I think if our forwards don't play at that minimum that they played at on the weekend, I think they need to go to another level, to be honest. But they're up against Burgess and Totola and Saleh, and they won the battle in the end. If we can win the battle against the Broncos, and Jensen and Palacio aren't, they're pretty good. You got Kobe Hetherington. He's not a bad player. I'd have him at the Dogs. And Piakora, we were trying to get him to the Dogs. We nearly signed him. They've kept him there for 3 years in the waiting, and he's been one of their best players in recent weeks. So the Broncos have got some really good talent in that team. They've got a lot of depth, as they should, being the Broncos. And they're still, with the pick of the Queensland junior base and expanding further now. I think they're taking on Burleigh Bears now from the Titans, which is interesting. yeah, they're going to be very hard to beat. If our boys in the forwards can get on top of them, that's going to take space away from that Broncos outfit. Now, I felt last year in both games against the Broncos, we were the better team for the first 60 minutes in both matches, without a doubt. And the problem was, and we matched them in the forwards. We well and truly matched them in the forwards in both games. I think we're on top. Paul Vaughan was huge in those games. But the problem was after the petrol ran out of the tank, players like Farnworth and Staggs and Cobbo and Adam Reynolds, once they got some time and space, they just pulled us apart and won the games. So 80 minutes in this match goes without saying, but if we can put on lots of points as well, they just got to go out there and play with the same sort of intensity. If we can win that forward battle, there's enough in our back line to create opportunities and put the Broncos under pressure. And with the full Belmore crowd, Josh Reynolds' last game, I'm expecting huge things from our boys this week. It's an imperative game that we must win, and I hope that we can, especially for Josh Reynolds and for Grubb on his last game, and all the fans that love him, and all the diehards who have been, going through a lot with the Canterbury performances over the last few years. We're on 6 wins. If we get 7 wins, we've matched last year as far as wins go. When we talk about improvement, I think our best has been better, but our worst has been worse. So to talk about improvement, it's a very subjective line. It's going to be a week-to-week thing, and we really need to get things sorted. Chance that Kickow could return this week as well. So there's been talk about that in the media. He's not named in any of the squads, but he could be a late inclusion. I think they've got until Thursday to name any late inclusions to the extended bench. But maybe not. I don't know how that works, but I've seen it happen before. But I'm sure he'll be wanting to play for the Panthers game. So if he can get into the side, it's probably almost worth having him develop for it. Some big games coming up as well, Penrith and then the Dolphins and then the bye. So, we're a chance to win a couple of these matches. We really are. And we need to go out there and play like it. I think the big difference against South is the players went out there like they were the better team, like they had the more experienced team, the more, they went out there like they were the better team. But one thing I've got to talk about still is there's still too much impatience coming from our spine, where they just need to show more poise and try to build some more pressure. They just want everything done. They want to get the try off every play, and when we do it, we put on points and we win. But I felt Reid Marnie did a pretty good job. He missed that tackle that gave him that last try, one-on-one miss, and and that was the end of it. This forward runs the length of the field and scores. We can't have that. We've got to have more poise and more patience, and we've got to build some pressure. It's too many times kicking on the fourth after we've just defended for a couple of sets or defended for 5 or 10 minutes. When we just take that extra play, put the bomb up, grind them for another set, back ourselves to grind the opposition team into the wall. That's what Bulldogs teams do. And they seem to play this sort of Penrith type of style, which is what they want to play, but then are adding this flair to it, which goes away from that. It's like they get into the grind for a little bit and then aren't prepared to see it out. And that's the problem. They need to see it out. Anyway, it's hard to criticise. It is. They're the ones out there doing it. But I just think there needs to be more poise and more patience, and they've got to build some pressure. Really got to do that in our games and back our defence. That's what they've got to do. If they start back in their defence, say, look, I've got faith, we're going to just keep defending and keep putting these players on the ground until they crumble. That's what I see from the Penrith team. That's what I see from the Broncos team. When all their players are fit and out there, they just back their defence and their patience. All right, rumours. Tino's coming to the Dogs. He's got a share in a pub, according to Buzz Rothfield. But then now Rothfield said that the NRL's knocked it back. And Gus has come out and said that it's all Gus is lying again. Not just Buzz, but other people from Foxtel and stuff like that. I don't know. Honestly, it's just like these two guys have it in for each other, and they're quite happy to just lie to each other about anything and say the other one's lying. It's just like tit for tat. And I don't know, is this what we want to sell our game of rugby league? I really don't know. I think they try to create drama on these shows, like 100% Footy and NRL 360 and the like, and then all the different news heads and mastheads come out and they do stories based on the stuff they talk about in these shows. When none of it actually comes from the players or the player managers. So it's just all Hollywood. It's like, it's just Hollywood. Like, it's just a tabloid, the whole thing. It wouldn't surprise me if Gus and Buzz get together and have a beer and say, what are we going to argue about this week? Just to create discussion points. And they're happy to put their heads on the line for their businesses. I really don't know. But it's ridiculous. But apparently we're going to get Tino. We're going to get Huss. There was big Huss rumours going around at the start of the year. Saifidi was another one. So obviously we need a player. We wanted Spencer Leniu. Now, to me, Spencer Leniu, I hope they bring him into the New South Wales team come tomorrow night. I'm taking out Robson or Gutherson, in my opinion. Yeah, the best bench impact prop in the game. Don't know if he'll ever be a enforcer that starts and can play and hold up the middle for 60 minutes a match or 55 minutes a match, but get him on for 25, 30 minutes. He just takes you to another level. And New South Wales need him to play, in my opinion. Hopefully the Bulldogs missed out on him. The Roosters have cut us out again, as they always do. I don't know. Luke Thompson's supposedly going to the Dragons. These are all just rumours, stuff that they're talked about. So, look, I hope that our boys that we've got now over the rest of this season can dominate. I hope like a player like Patolo can get in there and show that he's going to be a future Bulldog enforcer and not a powder puff. I hope Tavita Pangai Jr. can play at a consistent level for the rest of the year and show that he's going to be our enforcer, not a powder puff. I hope a player like Franklin Pele can, I don't know where, he's not named anywhere. He might have got suspended again, might be injured, not sure. But hopefully he can just get everything right, get some time. And because I just watch that guy and go, God, he reminds me of a player that fans can love in our club. And, you know, when he grows up and matures, he's going to be, I think, one of the really strong forwards in the NRL. I really believe that. He's still so young. So let's hope that all gets sorted. And then we don't need to recruit elsewhere. But, yeah, I hope they've got somebody in mind that I just don't know who it is. We will do some discussions, though, coming up. I'll look at who's available. And we'll do some elite pathway stuff as well with the top 30. So I've got Edo's going to be doing a lot on that. And we'll talk about the balance of next year and moving forward. And I might look at a shopping list for 25 even. Cast me net out that far. The idea is that we build this core that we can build around. And you want that core to be at least 15, 16 players deep that are going to be there for at least 3 seasons, and then have a couple of 2-year contracts, players around that, and then your juniors coming through. But lots to talk about in that space. Anyway, Buzz Rothfield's just notified me. He's coming on quickly. He sounds a bit crazy at the moment, but anyway, I'm going to put him on, and then I'll come back to you guys in a moment. G'day, Buzz. How you going?
They tried to make me go to rehab, but I said no, fucking no. I'm not going to fucking rehab. I'm not retiring. As long as got schools out there, there's plenty of fucking stories I can write. Alright?
Who invited this drunk onto the podcast? Whatever credibility it had is quickly leaving with this guy here. You know what they say about the moral of the story? The boy who cried wolf? Well, I'm the fucking wolf. Mr. Buzz and Mr. Gus. They lie so much it's like they lie together. Seems like a bit of tension between the two. I take what either say with a grain of salt. Mr. Gould, he's got a lot of business to do behind doors, and we'll see what happens. Just remember, they ain't a bulldog until they got a Bulldog's fucking jersey on. I ain't got much to say this week. Congratulations to my boy Mr. Skelton getting his debut. He might get another crack soon. Maybe even at Belmore this week. I'll be there watching. I also want to say, Mr. Reynolds, the Prince of Belmore, it was a pleasure watching you perform for the family. You are a man of the people, and you'll take your place sitting beside the Dogfather, overseeing operations as we move into the future. Your contributions will always be rewarded. Thank you.
Oh, so Buzz got cut off there. Thinks he's been on the Terps again, so can't support that. Drinking on the job. Anyway, thanks for that, Buzz. Thanks for that, Mr. Dogfather. He comes straight in, and when he wants to talk, he talks. That's the end of it. But just to echo what he said about Josh Reynolds, so what a great player. He's just one of those people you look at it and you go, you just don't know what they're going to come up with. It's like they don't know what they're thinking. You know, I've met a few people like that, and they're off the cuff. Just some of the memories, the great memories. And it's not just the good, the bad ones as well, the ugly ones, like the Titans at half time when he threw it over the sideline, gave the penalty away. Like when he forced that penalty against Manly, when he jumped so it looked like it was being dumped on his head. Like, I know they're not the best memories of Josh, but just his sleight of hand, the way he played in Origin when we won the series in 2013, I think, or 2014, so long ago. We hadn't won one for 8 years. It was one of the special years to be a Blues fan, and to see our Bulldogs boys there and him there. He just put it all on the line, so much so that it broke his body, and the injury started to creep in, and then, you know, he got offered a massive contract for what they thought he could bring to the Tigers, with his attitude. And you know, it's priceless. That sort of attitude and influence is priceless. So even though I'm sure he and everyone else has said he failed, I'm sure he did things at the Tigers that inspired a lot of people. And he talked about his friendships in his press conference, and, you know, Brooks's 200th, he was there to celebrate with him, even though he's playing for the Dogs now. Like, yeah, he's had some tough times. He got stuffed around by that missus. He had Buzz Rothfield on there giving him shit about stuff he didn't know about, reporting false stuff, which was lies. And Josh isn't a player to mince his words. He's just passionate. He just takes everything on as it comes. You don't have to guess what he thinks. He doesn't play games. He just left it all for all to see, and that was even to the retirement speech. Like, it just all come out, and you know, I had a tear in my eye. I can't handle watching grown men cry. But yeah, he just what an inspirational player. Just some of the deception in his play as well. I love the way he did his kick chase, and his kicking game was underrated, I believe, as well. And I think he had a lot more skill than what people actually give credit for. They talk about, oh, he's someone that can play footy, proves that anyone can play footy. Oh, he's a talented footballer, and he had skills. So I think they always underestimated Josh, and even they still underestimate him. Him coming to the top 30, I didn't agree with it. I think he could have done what he did from outside the 30, but you could see what it meant to him, and it looked like it. The younger players are all on board with it, but as he said, he doesn't want to take away from a kid like Bailey Haywood. And honestly, on the field, I felt the young kids, when he's been out there in New South Wales Cup, I've felt a lot of the time that they sort of, it was like they were in awe, like that, and they were leaving stuff to him. And their natural sort of, it just wasn't as natural. They didn't play as well together. So hopefully they get out there, they all do their job against the Bears on Saturday, and everyone just does their job, and they all play well, and Josh has a good game, because I can't wait to be there and watch it. It's going to be magnificent. And, you know, and I think he did a pretty good job in the NRL games that he played as well, and he got to sing the victory song a couple of times, which is great. But anyway, guys, that's my thoughts for this week on the podcast. I'm off to Belmore to watch, as I've said. Can't wait. It's going to be fantastic. The last time I was at Belmore was in the driving rain in 1998. Grandstand was packed. I think there was about 20 people on the hill getting absolutely pelted with rain. And we beat the Melbourne Storm in that great comeback year where we had pretty much every win we had. Scraped us into, I think, 9th spot, equal 9th and 10th spot. It was a top 10 that year in 1998, luckily, or we wouldn't have made it. And then, yeah, what a year to go all the way through to the grand final, and we won the first half. But, yeah, I'm starting to ramble now, but good memories, and I cannot wait to be at Belmore in the grandstand with my daughter. She's had to endure, I think she's had one win. She's seen one win in Queensland against the Titans in 2019 as a 4 or 5 year old, or a 6 year old. And every other game in Queensland has been a loss that she's seen. So I think there's about 10 games. So she just, funnily enough, we get to watch, because we live in Queensland, we got to watch the Broncos in Sydney this time with Bulldog supporters everywhere. And not all these arrogant Queenslanders carrying on, all these fair weather fans that they've got. Bloody Queenslanders, I hate them. All right, anyway, guys, I've made the podcast go about an extra 5 minutes. Thanks for sticking by me if you have. And I look forward to talking about the Broncos game, and go New South Wales in the Origin, go Canterbury, and thank you very much. Cheers.